All right, welcome back for another video. 2 weeks in a row. I know that some of y'all probably won't be able to believe that because I've tried to do these videos before and I said I'm going to have more videos coming, and then 3 years later another video comes. So 2 weeks in a row. My goal is to do one a week to start with. Anyway, so I'm going to bring you along today with me doing a dress for a client here in Atlanta. And this is what we got. So it is a steel to black airbrush dress with black and silver crystals. So I'm going to bring you along to show you my whole process. Now, the video that I put up last week was kind of my first try. I'm kind of getting the feel of all of this. So last week I just kind of sat the camera down and let it go. I have realized now that maybe it'd be better to do some explaining. So I've actually already done one new video that will be coming out in 2 weeks, but I have to wait because of circumstances. But I'm going to try to get things a little better, kind of work out the kinks. If there are any microphone issues, I'm getting a new microphone that should be in tomorrow. So this video may be hard to hear me in points, but I'm trying to kind of upgrade the whole gig and make these videos a little more enjoyable to watch so that you can hear me, you can see me better, and everything. So come along with me. So first thing we're going to do is start some patterns. So let's go to the pattern table. All right, now we're at the pattern table. The very first place we have to start because we have to make our pattern. How I start that is I normally have, I decide, sizing. How are we going to do the sizing? With a custom dress, we can go one of two ways. I can either custom make the whole sizing, or I can use one of my stock standard base sizing patterns and go off of that. Now, when I can use one of my stock sizing, it's like if somebody is in the realm of my stock sizing, then I can just use that. I get a little more beading for the budget because I'm not making a full custom size pattern. It's very rare that I really have to make a custom size pattern because most of the people I'm dealing with are within the realm of being right on with my standard sizing. So this customer so I'll make a few adjustments when I get the pattern out, but nothing major. So since this has sleeves, this is one of my sleeve patterns. I just have to choose what the base is going to be, and then I will trace it and then go from there with drawing on style lines and any beading details that need to be on the pattern. And then we'll go from there. I'm going to be doing a double Georgette skirt, which gets a little more flow. So I have to actually make that skirt because you can't use the same skirt pattern with that because you have to make it just slightly bigger because there's no stretch to it, so that it has a little give. So I'm going to start the patterns, and then if I have any ideas or thoughts that I want you to know, I will stop the video and discuss. All right, here we go. Pattern pieces are done. All right, so you may have been watching in that little quick video. I had a little issue with the sleeve is going to have a beading detail that goes down the back. I was kind of trying to figure out exactly how I wanted that to hit and go. Sometimes the rendering, the drawing will not be exactly the same as the pattern because just depending on width and everything, you kind of have to make slight adjustments. So I had to do that so that I could get, something that looked decent. So it will be slightly different than the picture, but enough that it gives the same vibe. Anyway, so we've got the bodice pieces, which are going to be here with the sleeve, and then we've got the skirt, which is going to be in the double Georgette, and then we've got painting piece over here. So this dress is going to be in my steel color, and it's going to airbrush down into black. So the bodice will be cut out of steel, so sleeves, and the lycra bodice piece are steel, and then the panty and the skirt are going to be black. Then I will show you when I go to the airbrush, how I airbrush to fade in right here at the waist, and then on the edge of the sleeves. So my first thing I'll do is I will cut out the liner with where the bodice is, and then I use a spray adhesive and spray that to the lycra. I like doing that because it kind of keeps everything together instead of having multiple pieces and sliding around. Now I will pin mesh over the top of the lycra because the lycra kind of has a shiny rubbery texture to it, and the mesh just kind of gives a nice texture to it, I guess. That will have to be pinned on. You cannot spray that on. So start cutting, and then when we get to the spray, I'll explain what I'm doing there. We've got the lining cut out, so now I'm going to spray it with this 505 spray. You can buy this anywhere, at craft stores. You can look on the internet, and this is just a temporary adhesive. Now what this does is it just attaches it to the color that I'm going to be using and just makes that kind of one piece, which I like, but it will, after about 2 or 3 weeks, it will kind of dissipate and go away and not be there anymore. If you wash it, it will go away. So this is just really helpful when you're sewing. So you can also use this if you're doing any kind of applique work, like if you're wanting to do like some flowers or little swirls or something in another piece of lycra. You can just spray it on there and then put it on there and then zigzag around it. Makes it nice, quick, and easy. It does get sticky, so you want to make sure you're not doing it anywhere that you're working, because I don't know if you can hear that. Floor gets sticky, it kind of goes onto the walls, gets a little sticky. So I have my own room for this that I just spray, and I don't have anything else in here really, other than my trash boxes. But when I didn't have a room that I could put it in, I would just get a box or something and spray it kind of in a closet or somewhere that like didn't have fabric or anything that was going to get super sticky, but you kind of spray it there, and then you could switch out your boxes every so often so it just doesn't get sticky. But I put a piece of paper down and then we'll replace it when it gets too sticky, but as you can see, it's sticky. So I'm going to spray it on, just kind of do a light coating. Now I can take it over to the fabric. Now you need to be careful when you're carrying it. You don't want to get bunched up. If it goes onto itself, it's hard to kind of peel off. You can do it, but it can kind of get messed up. So be very, very careful when you're picking up and moving it. All right, now we've got the lining glued to the lycra. What I'll do is I will trim it out, then I'll trim the sleeves, skirt, and panty, and then I'll add on a piece of mesh onto the top of this. Then I will zigzag that down, and then we can start the airbrushing. All right, we're ready to airbrush. We are in my airbrush room. I like to, just like with my spray adhesive, I like to have my own airbrush room because the stuff gets everywhere. So if you're doing it where you're working, you're gonna get a fine layer of paint everywhere. So I highly suggest do it somewhere that you do not have fabric or crystals or anything else that you want to get messed up. So I have this full room. I mean, you can see like, it gets dusty with the paint. So anyway, I've got my paint in its bottle. I like to use the golden fluid acrylic. They have a ton of great colors. they have two different types. They have the fluid acrylic and then they have high flow acrylics. I kind of prefer the fluid acrylic, and then you can just slightly water it down. I just add a little heat set fabric stuff, and it waters it down and gets it to a good consistency so it comes out nicely. But I am going to experiment, and maybe I'll do a video on that with some other things, like some other brands, like the Createx paint, which I know a lot of people use, like Jacquard textile. And then last thing before we get started, I know a lot of people are going to ask me what kind of airbrush I have. I use the Iwata airbrush, and I think it's called the Eclipse. They have two types of airbrushes, just like in general. They have a top-loading one that has just like a little piece on the top that you can pour the paint into and then you spray, or you can do like I do where it has the bottle that attaches. I prefer this way. And then you can just switch out your bottles when you want to switch colors. Today we're just doing black, so easy peasy. So I'm going to lay the sleeves out, pin them down, and then spray those on the edges, and then I will lay out the bodice, spray the edge fading up, so the skirt blends in, and then we can get going on the rest. All right. Quick and easy, right? Yeah. I did just remember that you guys distracted me because I didn't wear my mask. Normally I put a mask on so I don't get so much crap in my face. However, this is quick and easy, so I think it's fine. If I was doing multiple, I want to put a mask on because you get a lot of paint up your nose if you don't wear a mask. You still get a little bit with a mask, but just to kind of protect you as best as possible and not get so much in you. All right, so I've done those. It's easy. Now I'm just going to sew and sew up the skirt, and then I will let this dry, and then I will sew the sleeves onto the bodice, and then do a couple other little things to the bodice, and then I'm going to bead. When I go to bead this, I'm going to, since there's beading on the sleeves, I'm going to bead it flat before sewing up the edges and sewing it onto the skirt. Just the easiest way that I have found. So on to the next part. One quick thing I forgot to add with the airbrush. As you noticed, I lay it flat in airbrush. You can also do it on a mannequin. I know a lot of people do it on a mannequin. I normally like to typically lay it flat, just gets kind of the cleanest lines. However, if I need to do a design or do something special, I will put it on a mannequin. But normally 95% of the time I'm doing it flat. It just kind of keeps everything nice and even, and you're not getting lines in funny places or whatnot. So that is why I did that. We've got the airbrush pieces dried now, and now I can sew them all together. So I'll sew the sleeves to the lycra bodice pieces. However, first, what I need to do is, you'll see there's a design on here that will be beaded. And so I need to put nude on this side of it. So to do that, I will lay a piece of nude mesh on top of this, and then zigzag. I'll do a double zigzag to give it a little more stabilization. I normally don't like to zigzag mesh to mesh because it's so thin that it doesn't keep it stable. However, this will will have crystals over top, so it will kind of laminate it and keep it secure so that the stitches won't come out when being stretched. All right. All right, we've got the nude mesh now attached and everything cut away. As you can see, it's not super pretty looking, but once you put the crystals over it, kind of makes it all look better. So crystals always fix all the little details that don't look great. So I would never do this if I was doing an unbeaded dress, and this is just for this because I'm having these little zigzags. So if this just went straight, then I would have seamed it in and it would look much better. But if I were to do it unbeaded, then probably what I'd have to do to make it look better is put some sort of banding or something around the edge, just to finish it off. But I would never leave it like this. But since we're doing beading, it'll be fine. So now it's time to attach the bodice, and then I'm going to sew up the back seam, put in some elastic, and then finish off the edges here, and then I'm going to bead everything with it laying flat, and then when I finish that, I can then sew up the seams at the skirt and panty and finish the beading. All right, I've packed up all my crystals and I have come home. I like to bead from my home, one, because it's just, I can kind of relax, watch a TV show, watch a movie, watch a YouTube video, and do my work and not have to worry about anything. So I have a foam board here that I'm going to bead on today. That is 1/2-inch foam board, and then I put parchment paper on top, which is a good tip for when you're beading anything with mesh, because the glue will go through the mesh. And so this just makes it so that it won't stick to what is underneath it, which is the board. So like I said, when I do beaded sleeves, I like to bead it flat. It makes it much easier than having to stick something down a sleeve and make sure you're getting it even or whatnot. So I don't sew up the side seams. So I will lay the dress flat on here, pin it down so that it's all nice and stretched. Don't want to stretch it too much, but just not any wrinkles. And then I will start the beading. Since these are long sleeves, I will have to do the center of the dress, and then I will go out to the ends of the sleeves to finish off. Now, another tip that I have, since I will be seaming it up, is to take some Scotch tape and just tape all around the edges of where the seam is. And then that makes it so that I can't go past that point. I know where I need to stop, so that when I sew it, the sewing machine foot will not get caught on crystals. That is very helpful. All right, so I'm going to lay it out, pin it down, and start the beading. Here we go. beading down on the bodice and the sleeves, and we just need to sew her up because she's just one piece, so we need to sew up the side seams, and then I'll put on the skirt, and then we can start the rest of the beading because I need to get it out today. You may also hear that I sound better. Testing 1, 2, 3. I got a microphone. Look at that beautiful thing. So hopefully you can hear me better. Like I said, I'm going to try to upgrade so that these videos are a little more enjoyable to watch for you as the viewer. So I need to get some better lighting. I do have a light right here that is lighting me up, but this lighting in my studio is all overhead and they're always in places that I cannot not stand under. But as you see, when I turn the light away, it doesn't look so great, right? So I have to shine a little light on my face. So I found some lights that are actually cordless from LoomCube that I can kind of drag around because this one has a short cord on it, so it's kind of hard to have to get it near an outlet. So hopefully I can get myself lit a little better so that I look better for you guys, but I'm trying to figure all this out. You know, I'm kind of looking at YouTube videos like you're looking at this YouTube video to learn what I'm doing. I'm looking at other YouTube videos to learn how other people are doing their videos and how to make this a little more enjoyable for you. And then one last thing before we move on, please like, subscribe, and comment. When you do that, that kind of pushes me out into the internet universe and brings people back into me to see what I'm doing here. So if you're enjoying what I'm doing here, please like, subscribe, and comment. And if you have a question, you can put it down below and I will answer it. So please give me lots of questions. I will try to have lots of answers. And with that, we can move on with the video. All right, enjoy. Ding. All right, as you saw, I just put a board inside of the dress. It's another one of those 1/2-inch foam boards that is just cut to size of the dress that I can then kind of pin down so everything is nice and flat. I find this very helpful when doing the beading of a dress because you just have something inside and gives it a little bit of stability and works great. So try that out. Let me know how you like it. And she's done. I just want to thank you for coming along for the process of this one. And I've had a really fun time making and filming and editing these together. So I want to continue to do them. I hope to do at least one a week. So that is my goal to start with. So if you had a good time, please like, subscribe, and comment. And you can comment any questions you may have and I will answer them. And if you have any ideas for future videos, please leave them in the comments as well. With that, I'll see you next week. All right, thank you very much. Have a good day.